Hello and welcome to the Blood Red podcast. I am your host, Stephen Killen, and today I'm joined by esteemed colleague Ian Doyle. Ian, how are you?
I'm okay. Are you nervous?
No, I've had.
Good.
I feel good.
Good. Excellent.
Feel good. And on to my left, or to the viewer's right, it's Theo. Theo, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. You've spilled a bit of water on yourself there.
I know.
Is it to the listeners right as well?
It could be in your left ear, it could be in your right ear. Who knows?
Both.
Both, yeah. We'll get over that, but...
Loudspeaker?
Yeah. If you're listening in one of the many countries that do follow us, thank you. Please hit that like, subscribe, so you don't miss a single episode. To our viewers in Australia, good day. And we'll start off with...
What other accents do you do?
Oh, no.
What about our listeners in Germany? Guten Tag.
Hello.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with you. Ian, you were at the press conference today.
I was.
How was Jürgen? Was he in jovial mood? He was late?
He was late? That's very unusual, yeah. I reckon that's something to do with this documentary that's...
I thought they'd already said what the reason was.
Was it? I wasn't listening. What was it?
Getting the manager of the month award.
Well, there you go. There was a good reason for it then.
No.
But did he really say that?
I thought that's what they were alluding to at the start, because it was Vinny, wasn't it, saying, I'm sure you've been posting for a few pictures, but we can't talk about that yet.
Oh, well, it could be anything, couldn't it? Yeah. It probably was that. But, also the documentary crew were there.
Yeah.
They've been knocking around. They trying to get us towards them, and we're just ignoring them. So no, Jürgen was in fine form, really. He just, I'm sure we're going to go through some of the things in a minute, but the main talking point from the press conference was the injuries, and he mentioned there's two players coming back, but there are also two players who are not going to be available, and one of them definitely is not going to be available for a rather big game Liverpool have coming up. Should we go into that now?
Yeah.
Luton Town.
Yeah. So obviously that's Trent. We did the story. Well, actually, it broke in the Times first on what day was it? Was it Wednesday? Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday. That Trent aggravated his knee problem that he suffered first against Arsenal. That was in the FA Cup, which ruled him out for a few weeks. Then he came back, made a couple of sub-appearances, made a couple of starts, but he went off after just before the hour at Arsenal in the league game, and then at half-time at Burnley, and now he's going to be out for a few more weeks. Definitely out for the League Cup final against Chelsea. Could be back for the City game in the Premier League. That's on March the 10th. I think that's right, on the Sunday. But again, we don't really know. There's been no timescale set. The other player that was mentioned was Szoboszlai, who's been out for a few games already. Similar to Trent, he aggravated an existing problem, his hamstring for him. And he might be back for the final. Klopp didn't really want to give away too much on that. I would imagine it's one of these ones where if there's a chance he could play, they'll play. But if not, then they're not going to. I don't think they'll overly risk him. I don't think, especially with there being so many big games coming up after that. And Liverpool do have a lot of players now available in midfield, even though Thiago's another one who's out. So the other player that, in terms of coming back, Mohamed Salah started training again this week. He's missed the last 8 games. He'll be involved in some way against Brentford. And then Conor Bradley is obviously back. He had a compassionate leave after the death of his father. I've missed
2 ill players.
2 ill players, of course, yes. Alisson Becker and Joe Gomez. They are also available because they don't have the flu anymore, basically. It's amazing how this happens, isn't it? You can have the flu and then
Joe
you don't
Gomez
have it
called it
anymore.
often.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he's not here. He's coughing his guts up, isn't he?
Should have really mentioned at the start, I am a late replacement.
Yeah.
Failed a late fitness test. The office heard some of the coughs, but...
Yeah, I think we told him, stay away from us, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I've literally been moved central, but I am back in the hot seat. But no, Theo, just on Trent, Klopp was quite spiky in his assessments at times. He sort of took aim at people, suggesting he's been rushed back, and he says if they're fit to play, they're fit to play, and they haven't been rushed back.
Yeah, I can understand why he's come out and said that. He's always very passionate when he defends his colleagues. He's got into a crosswords with a few of our colleagues in the past, where even stuff that's been said about some of the staff at Liverpool. But medical team wise, there has been a bit of criticism about 2 players now coming back and then being struck down again with a couple of weeks. We're not experts. We're not going to know what the issue is there. And Klopp said that himself. We're not going to know if they hadn't played those games, if they'd have picked it up anyway. It's just one of those things. They were fit to play. They said they were fit to play. The medical staff said they were fit to play. And then after a couple of games, they suffer these fresh issues. It's just another case for Liverpool where at least they've got players coming back when they lose players to injury. It's always very timely for them. I'm going to have Conor Bradley back in contention to replace Trent. Joe Gomez could go at right back as well. in midfield. Or we've seen Harvey Elliott do so well. Gravenberch, he got a little bit of a knock in the warm-up last week, but he seems like he's come through unscathed. We've got options there. You just want them back healthy when the time comes, whether that's in time for the cup final or it's a couple of weeks after that. Liverpool's season doesn't end with the League Cup final. They want that to be the first in many trophies this season. You'd much rather have Trent and Szoboszlai fit for May, April time when you are going for everything on all four fronts.
And Doyle, just on Bradley, I think when he had that compassionate leave a couple of weeks ago, it was almost like, he's been starting so well. He was pretty much on the crust of a wave, and then obviously the very sad news of his dad's passing, and then almost felt like Trent was back in straight away, and now he's straight back out, and now Bradley can hopefully resume his good run of form.
Yeah, and in fact, he got the fans player of the month, didn't he? Was it Liverpool? Well. Did he get the PFA one as well? Yeah, so he got the player of the month, which for somebody who's only played 2 Premier League games, and they're his first 2 games, that's not bad going. Obviously, what Conor Bradley's form before it was obviously forced to step out of the team for a short while was excellent, wasn't it? I mean, he couldn't have done much more, and well, it was probably a bit of a question over, do you start Trent or do you start Conor Bradley? I think pretty sure it was going to be Trent. But it then begs the question of, I'm convinced that Arsenal game that Trent wouldn't have played had Conor Bradley been available, because I don't think he was fully fit.
It looked like a late call.
Yeah, he didn't seem fully fit, not in terms of injury, although it just turned out that probably was what the case was. He just didn't look fit. He didn't look as though he was confident enough in his own body. Yeah, and you can just whether that's been playing on his mind a little bit, I don't know. But it's funny, just going back to we hadn't mentioned Alisson or Joe Gomez. It's because they were back in training on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever it was, and I'm pretty sure that our listeners are quite learned individuals when it comes to keeping up to date with Liverpool. So I just assumed that they'd know that. It's my excuse anyway for not mentioning them.
And just on Szoboszlai, I think it's been difficult without him at times, really, hasn't it? Where he's been good, he's had a bit of a lull in form, and now he's back out the team again. But you mentioned there is a plethora of midfielders. There
is in that position. It's just whether any of them are as good in that position as he is. But I mean, Liverpool found a way around it against Burnley by playing Endo, McAllister, and Jones. And McAllister was on the right, which I don't think he may have played there in the summer in a couple of games, a couple of halves, but he hasn't really played there this season. He's normally played as the number 6 or on the left, and I think he'd prefer to be on the left. But Curtis has done that well there, that Liverpool didn't want to switch it around. Whether or not they do something a bit different at Brentford on Saturday, I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later on when we pick our teams. But there's also Harvey Elliott could come in, and then Ryan Gravenberch at a push. I think we've spoken a few times about him and the obvious difficulties that he's found playing the Premier League the first season, having hardly played previous years, still young, etc., etc. So there are alternatives for Liverpool, but I think ideally they'd want Szoboszlai to be fit, because when he's been on his game, which was when he first started the first few months, and then when he came back, his couple of appearances, he set up a goal, didn't he, against Norwich, and then scored against Chelsea, and he looked more like the player he'd started the season in those first couple of months. So I think he'd actually benefited from having a rest. So his injury in particular is quite bad time, and I think anything with your better players, like Conor Bradley could come in and play right back and do really well for a few weeks, but if Trent's out for any length of time, you'll end up missing him, because he is one of Liverpool's best players. I think he's obviously been very integral to the change in formation that's allowed Liverpool to, go from being not particularly great 12 months ago to being top of the league and still in the other 3 competitions.
I think, Theo, it's almost the case when one door closes, another one opens. And I think for the likes of Jones and Elliott, with Szoboszlai being out, and maybe even Gravenberch, like Doyle says, at a push, it's a perfect opportunity for them to stake the claim, because they haven't put a foot wrong when they have been in the team, have they?
I don't really think you can include Jones in that, to be honest. I think he's staked his claim and got his place in that team deservedly so over the last couple of months. He's one of the first names on the team sheet now. But you get your point with the Elliott and Gravenberch, like you're expecting them to be able to follow Jones' example and make it a case of you can't be dropped anymore. Personally, I'd be surprised if Elliott starts this one, because Klopp's always, when he talks about Brentford, says how physical they are. They're good at set pieces, and he usually likes his higher, big profile players there. And maybe that would suit a Gravenberch. Whether he's used to that sort of challenge yet, we'll wait and see. But he's still making such a good impact off the bench. Like, he was superb last week when he comes on and gets his 2 assists. Klopp alluded to this in the press conference, saying when he comes on, he's brilliant. When he starts, it's not the same. But he is only 20, and I know you can say this so many times. just because he's been with the team for so long, you forget how young he is. Like, he's younger than Quansah. He's the same age group as Connor Bradley. And these are players everyone's getting excited about because of how well they're doing this year. If Harvey Elliott had only just come into the Liverpool team this year, you'd be talking about him far more than the others because he's at that much higher a level for the age he's been at. But you take him a bit for granted, the same as we did for Curtis Jones a year or two ago. But give Elliott a couple of years, you'll be finding that consistency. You'd expect the same for Gravenberch as well. But at the moment, when they do get those opportunities, you do want to see them state their claim, grab it with both hands for these starting games, because they are going to be needed for the final few months of the season. There's going to have to be rotation. There is going to be more injuries because Liverpool play such an intense game. And if they can step up, then Liverpool got a great chance in all competitions.
And there's been a timely boost as well with Mohamed Salah getting back. I think he made a joke in the pre-match, in one of the training videos where he said he still got it, and Liverpool haven't really missed him, but it poses the question, is this the sort of game that you do? Thrust him back into it after now a month out?
Yeah, it's a month out. He's, I think it was 4 weeks in this week. So he's in line with where he was expected to return. He wouldn't have been back for the Cup of Nations. I wouldn't start him. There's no reason to throw him straight back into that starting 11 when everyone's doing so well. When Jota's in form, Núñez is in form, Diaz, you've still got Gakpo there as well. You got Luton. That's a nice one to give him a first start, get him an hour against Luton, and then he can just be unleashed against Chelsea in the League Cup final. But yeah, small steps. You don't want to risk it, because then if he goes in and picks up another injury, then you're having the exact same conversation that people are saying on Szoboszlai, Trent, when they're given all the criticism towards the medical team, and Klopp will just bat it straight back away.
And Doyle, put yourself in the shoes of a Premier League attacker if you were...
Which one?
Right or left? One of the right-sided ones.
Okay.
If you were enjoying that run of form that these players have in Salah's absence, would you be slightly aggrieved if Salah did just come in and start at half 12 in Brentford?
Well, from a very dispassionate point of view, Mohamed Salah is obviously Liverpool's best player, so you'd expect him to come in when he's available, and you can't really complain too much about that. But there's a obviously in the press room we get to speak to a lot of former players, and there was a conversation about this quite a few months ago, not about this Salah, but just a general conversation about players who play, and then when they get told, right, you're not playing, even though there's a very good reason for it, that he said if he was playing, then he'd just be like, get lost to the manager, not to the manager, but that would be his thing. It's like, I don't care whether he's back, I want to play, kind of thing. And that's what I would assume most players deep down are like, you'd like to think they are. You don't want any footballer, certainly at that level, to be happy that he's not playing. So, yeah.
That's part of the reason why Henderson looked to leave, wasn't it? Being told that he wasn't going to start every week.
Well, then let's not go down that road again. But if you ask me the question, if I am a very skillful right wing, wouldn't be great at heading, I don't think, but I could pass it. And, I don't know where the goal is. It doesn't move. And so on and so forth.
Compare you again.
Yeah. The control of Jota, the composure of Núñez, the height of Salah, so on and so forth. Anyway, yeah. So, no, I think it's just part of it. That's part of the game. That's it. If when Salah does come in, he will come in, and everybody knows that when he's fit, he's going to start almost all of the game because he has done for the past 6 years. The challenge has been for the ones who've come in on that right wing, and Diaz had a go for one game, Gakpo had a couple of games, Elliott had some games which ended up being Jota, is to make sure that then when Salah comes back, they go, hang on a minute, yeah, he's back here, but I want one of those other two spaces, because almost every other player mentioned there can play in the other two spaces. So then it becomes a problem for Klopp that he'd quite enjoy.
I think with Salah as well, it's almost where if you keep him off, there's probably a bit more fire in his belly that increases.
Well, he's missed 8 games, hasn't he? So he's that's the longest he's ever missed. I'm pretty sure that as a Liverpool player, which in 6.5 years for a player who obviously very intense, style of play, and such a very high pressure level all the time. And when he goes and plays in Egypt, he's obviously the expectations are very big. And of course, he's a player who gets kicked around quite a lot. And for whatever reason, the statistics show us that he gets hardly any fouls compared to quite a lot of the other players. So, he knows all about that. So if you're Salah, yeah, when you get back into that team, but he's also not soft, and he'll know quite well that he'll come back in when he's ready. And if he's the substitute, if he's a substitute, at Brentford, so be it. He'll just be happy to get some minutes.
Makes me quite glad that he's only made the return to team training now. Like, when he gets that injury, you almost expect him to be rushed back for Egypt if they're carried on in the tournament and playing the semi-final or playing the final. But the fact that it was basically the full 4 weeks, they've at least taken their time to make sure he is right. They've had a long, hard look at him in training this week. They'll know if he's ready to start or if it's just substitute action.
I think, Theo, throw it to you. When you think of Brentford, they are quite a big, strong team. You can see with Tony and they've now got Neil Maupay firing at times. But with
Firing on social media, certainly.
yeah, a couple of darts here and there. But with Endo and McAllister, which game or which play do you think it's more suited for in the six?
It's a difficult one because at the moment you probably say both of them start and you're not going to have Endo further forward. They've both done really well in the position when they've been turned to. Endo, I think, he's exceeded expectations, and McAllister has certainly adjusted to the position really, really well. If we'd been having this conversation 2-3 months ago, we'd have all been saying, oh, we want to see him at number 8, we don't want him as at number 6. But now it's a shame there isn't a number 8 available, so then you've got the option of one or the other at number 6, but they're both very gifted players. I think this sort of game against Brentford, it's made for Endo. He's so good at winning the ball back. He's not shy of a physical challenge. He's good at getting in the air as well, despite the fact he's not the tallest. But then McAllister's so good on the ball as well. Like Doyle was at the Bournemouth game, and he was just brilliant in terms of winning it back, rising to that physical challenge there. They're both going to be important, and I imagine they're both starting this one.
Doyle, I think Brentford's the GTEC Community Stadium. Going on sponsors is a bit of a tricky breeding ground for Liverpool, isn't it? They have struggled, and I think Man City struggled in the first half, albeit against.
Well, Arsenal's got a last-minute winner there as well, didn't they?
So there's going to be a difficult battle across the pitch, but I think midfield will be where it's won or lost, so it is another big call in that.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I don't think it's necessarily a midfield battle, but I think Liverpool's midfield will be very important. So I agree with you on that point. I think I know I've been to Brentford twice since Liverpool have been there in the Premier League. On both games, what's interesting, the second game Tony didn't play and they still won 3-1. First game was the 3-3 game, and the first 20 minutes was like every time, but Brentford would get the ball, and it's not Wimbledon like the old days Wimbledon. To get it forward to Tony, and he would get hold of it or deflect it. I mean, Klopp even made mention of it, didn't he? He said, like, I'm not saying he just deflects it, but he always seems to get something on and then puts it back into the zone where Brentford's the second balls. Klopp today called them like probably one of the best second ball teams in the country, which they are, because that's where their midfield makes a difference. But Liverpool's midfield will have to, I think, drop back, and I think it was Older, wasn't it? Was it in his column where he said, I know you didn't do it this week, did you? No. So that's lost you on that. John Aldridge, our columnist, he mentioned the fact that there could be a tactical switch where they could move both McAllister and Endo to be the two, certainly when Brentford are attacking, because that can offer a bit more protection to the back four, certainly the two central defenders, whoever that's going to be, and they can help pick up these loose balls and then put Liverpool on the attack, because that's where Brentford will pick up a lot of the ball or look to do, and that's where that Maupay just kind of flitters around there. And
they've got Visser back for this one, though, don't they? They've got the players back from Cup of Nations, and he's got a great record.
Yeah, he does really well against Liverpool. I mean, just the whole thing. It's a small ground, but it's a very good ground, and the crowd are always up for it. And just the way that Brentford play means it's going to be difficult for Liverpool, because it's one of these things about, styles. Was it styles make fights? Well, styles make a very good game in this one, and it definitely won't be 0-0. That's for sure.
And with the Tony's stuff, I think with defenders as well, Canate struggles in recent years. I think it's going to be a physical battle, so the midfield is going to be important. And
it is, yes, but not in a way that you were thinking.
No,
yeah.
I don't stand by it.
Okay, fine.
But they are going to have to nullify them.
Yeah, by which, when we were talking about a midfield battle, whenever I think of that, I think of the Merseyside derby, throw the ball on 20 minutes into the game after they've just been kicking 4 cans out of each other. But it's not like that with this Brentford team, is it? They're not. They're very physical, but they're not dirty. They just get in your face. But they tend to mostly play it fair, and I think there'll be 1 or 2 bruises on Liverpool's players by the end of this game. And you mentioned Elliott before. He started the game where they lost 3-1 last year. I'm pretty sure he played in the midfield 3.
Subbed at half time, wasn't he?
Subbed at half time, and I think he was involved in giving away the ball for one of the goals. I think Brentford had 2 goals disallowed in the first half as well. I think they could have exactly So Brentford very good at set pieces, very good at the counter attack. Who does that remind you of? Liverpool.
Football. Segues perfectly, set pieces. Brentford are going to be dangerous from them. Liverpool, good attacking them, slightly cagey at times, defending them. Where's it going to be important, do you think?
What set pieces? Yeah. Defending them and scoring from them.
Heading it clear, that'll be good.
The last two home games, Norwich and Burnley, Liverpool conceded sloppy goals from corners, so they're going to have to improve a hell of a lot on these set pieces. And as Doyle has just reminded us, Brentford looked like they were going to score every single corner they got.
Newcastle scored one as well, didn't they, from a corner? They were all in front of the Cop end, yeah.
So Liverpool are going to need to improve that. And there's been a lot of changes defensively in recent weeks. I think it's going to be a piece coming from Doyle for the morning on this defensive record for them as well.
Thanks for reminding me.
Have you written it yet?
Yeah, I've done. Yeah.
So yeah, Liverpool are going to have to be a bit more physical and a bit smarter here. Like you mentioned with Konate, he was a fault for the third goal, wasn't he, against Brentford last year? None of that. He's back from suspension for this one. You need to really stand up, be dominant, win absolutely everything, and then if you have that confidence behind them, then the rest of the team can be a bit more exciting. They can be a bit more relaxed and go and play their own game. But yeah, Alisson probably be back in goal. You don't want him to have any mix-ups with Van Dijk. We'll see if it's Gomez or Bradley at right back, or if Gomez is at left back, Robertson. So many chopping and changing here on the back four. There isn't a settled defence. That probably plays a part in the fact that they are a bit leaky from these set pieces.
And do sticking with leaky set pieces, I think.
You don't want leaky set pieces, do you? No. Certainly not on a Friday afternoon.
But with how sort of Liverpool have been conceding these goals from set pieces, I think against a team like Brentford, obviously with Burnley, they found a way back. But against Burnley, they're going to be a team who sort of play off the crowd, aren't they? And they have been traditionally hard to break down for Liverpool.
They have, but at home, I think Liverpool won 3-0 twice, haven't they? I think Liverpool did score 3 in that 3-3, and they did score in when they got beat 3. I can't remember who scored. Who scored? Oh, that's right. Yeah, got it back to 2-1. That's right. And Nunes had missed a chance early on, which
off the line.
Yeah, which may have made the game slightly different. But yeah, what was that? That was 13 months ago now. It's a long time ago. Liverpool,
they lost a load of players to injury as well.
Yeah, that sparked kind of the beginning of the end for Liverpool. It's certainly that team. So it's a good test, I think, to see how far Liverpool have come in that time. Certainly with defensively. I mean, I was looking at it in the article that I've written, which goes online on Saturday morning for anybody who's interested.
Or the LFC app if you do not.
Indeed, it's a very good. It's a very good application.
Free, or if you want to sign up, it's
not free if you don't.
It's not free. Yeah, it's not free anymore.
It's
you
not
have to
free
pay
anymore,
for it.
but it's free to download, and you get 20 articles free.
Yeah, it's recommended. Yeah, because it's
well better than the website.
Well, you may very well say that. We couldn't possibly comment. What was the question again? Set pieces, right? Yeah. So basically, Liverpool. I think I'm right in saying they've conceded 8 goals. I can't remember. It's something like 8 in the last 7 games, or something like that, or 8 in the last 6. And in the 11 before that, they only conceded 8 in that, and 2 of those were against Union Saint-Gilloise, which was a game that didn't really matter. So there has been this kind of sense that maybe the injuries and the chopping and changing has been catching up with them in terms of the defensive solidity, but they've always had the players, apart from against Arsenal, they've had and even then Arsenal needed Alisson to have a rare, here you go, have 2 goals if you want, moment. But they've always had enough to win the games, but there's going to come a time where that's not enough, and I think Brentford is a game where even if Liverpool do end up scoring 1, 2, 3 goals, they're going to have to defend well, because Brentford will be a threat from the first minute to last. And the way Liverpool play away from home certainly will suit Brentford. I mean, what Brentford don't want is a team that comes and sits back and says, come on, try and beat us, whereas Liverpool are never going to be that when they go to Brentford, because they can't.
I'm going to have to make a quick handbrake turn here, Theo. Obviously this week the big news is Kylian Mbappe. Obviously, tentatively linked with Liverpool. But
it helped them against Brentford.
Yeah. That was a good handbrake turn as well.
Will he play? Yeah. Not for Liverpool, no. But that may never happen, and our website will soon note that interviews, we can't use them in titles anymore. What do you think? What do you make of
any more?
One more.
Yeah.
We still write about Jude occasionally.
Jude still got 2 years left at Real Madrid. 5-year contract. But no, Mbappe's saga, the long-running feud, or whatever you want to call it, it's finally coming to an end. At PSG, no more, or Liverpool. Could Liverpool?
Are we hoping that it's actually done? Because haven't we been here at least twice before where he said, I'm off in the summer, and then he goes and signs a new contract?
Can I just point out, we're actually mentioning him in a podcast on Liverpool. He's never going to join Liverpool, so...
No, he's not. They can't afford him. That's been said.
I know that, what was it, Mikel Arteta said today that Arsenal's been in the conversation for Mbappe, and I think the conversation is, here are all the teams that he isn't going to join.
Well, Arteta saying that is similar to Liverpool around the time when they won the Champions League, where, we're competing for all these trophies, we want to have our name in with all these players, this is the level we're at now. Whereas Liverpool don't need to play that game because they've been at that level for a number of years, whereas Arsenal are trying to make that step. But he's a very good player, but he's a very, very expensive player. And even if you lost a Mohamed Salah and you got that void for him, he's still going to be on ridiculous amounts compared to anyone else. The fact that you look at the reports and Real Madrid, the offers apparently differ somewhat. If he actually is leaving PSG and it goes through this time, he sticks to his word. Imagine Real Madrid's the only place he's going to go. Who else is there who can actually afford him or has the ego to, or just ignore the finances and make it happen and then deal with it later? But Liverpool don't have a manager for next season. They don't have a sporting director for next season. This might have been your
I wrote that, yeah.
So, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Who's going to persuade him to come? Apart from me, obviously.
His mum's a Liverpool fan. His mum's his agent. Fraser, if you're watching, Anfield not that way. No, but Doyle, it's one of them. It's one of them things. The transfer window is a mad place, and it's often weird and slightly wonderful.
And it's also shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And it has been shut for several weeks now.
Isn't this one weird, though? Because they're saying that PSG still somehow get a transfer fee, even though he's out of contract.
yeah, he's agreed to.
He's agreed to give up his signing on fee, is it, or something like that? Yeah. But anyway, he doesn't play for Liverpool any years, and let's move on to something else.
If we're lucky, he might play against them in the Champions League next year.
And Real Madrid have been a banana skin for Liverpool, Doyle. So
Well, Real Madrid just get to do what they want, don't they? Let's be honest. There's no club like them. And anyway, they'll be in the European Super League playing Barcelona every week or soon, so they can just, go
Go
off.
away.
well, back onto football.
Is that not football?
Well, football. so we got
With a capital F.
on the weekend we have Brentford 12:30
Yep.
kickoffs. Often drop that. That's put it clearly. They're never the most entertaining.
No, they're not. But for reasons mentioned before, I don't think there's going to be any problem in terms of atmosphere. In terms of Brentford being up for it, it's up to Liverpool to match that, to be honest.
Goalkeeper Kelleher's.
Oh, we're picking the team now?
Yeah.
Right. Kelleher, he did really well against Burnley, but obviously Alisson is now back, and he starts.
Right back and defence. I think centre backs could be a difficult one. Does Canate
Okay.
come straight back in?
Kanate comes in with Van Dijk, and then you'll put Kwanzaa in for Kanate midweek. It's a bit more challenging at fullback, I'd say. With the set pieces, Gomez starts for me. I think starting at right back with Robertson keeping his place on the left. Bradley's obviously got the pace, which would be useful against Brentford on the counter-attacks, but I think you need someone who's a bit stronger in the air.
Midfield.
Now I'm mentioning defence first. Come
Oh,
on,
defence,
come
sorry.
on. You
Sorry.
don't even listen to this podcast. I know.
All the time.
So yeah, defence. Obviously, I don't think there's any doubt that it'll be Kanate and Van Dijk, especially with Kanate having not played last week through suspension. I'd play Bradley at right back. He is quite tall, and he'll have been used to playing against big lumps. Not that I'm saying Brentford are big lumps, but he'll been used to playing against not big players when he was playing for Bolton in League One last year. And I played Gomez at left back because, as far as I'm concerned, it's interesting what I played Gomez at left back on merit ahead of Robertson, because I think Gomez has been, I said this before, Liverpool's best player for the past 6 weeks.
If that happens, it's going to be a very easy analysis piece tomorrow.
Just make it about yourself, Theo. Midfield, I'm going to go with our esteemed columnist, John Aldridge, and say that I think there has to be a tweak. I would play Endo and McAllister, and I would play them, certainly defensively, as the double pivot. I hate saying that. Reverse the triangle in the hole, all that kind of football terminology, that just play them. Them two, and I'd also play Curtis, a little bit advanced. But even if it's the normal three, Endo's the number 6.
Same trio, but in the traditional 3, I think, just because it's a bit easier to stick with that.
And we'll have to go to attack then, won't we, Theo? Does Salah jump straight back in?
No, already said Salah's on the bench for me.
Just wonder if you change your mind.
Jota starts on the right, Nunes down the middle, and Diaz on the left. That's an unchanged front 3. I think you're going slightly differently.
I'm going different because I think Gakpo, he's played the last couple of times against Brentford. He's about 7 foot tall, or he seems it, right? And I think he'll play, down the middle because he can drop in. Another one he can drop in, and he'll definitely be needed at set pieces. I'd play Jota on the right because he has to play, and I think looking a little bit further ahead, I'd play Nunes on the left. I think Diaz and then you've got Diaz and Salah to come on. You know what I mean? It's like suddenly Liverpool, are looking very, very good in attack.
And that team's looking very, very tall.
Yes.
Especially with their physicality. The back Ben me against Darwin Nunes.
That's
we
it.
all wake up early to watch on a Saturday morning.
Wake up early. It's 12:30. It's not like it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Well, no, but some of our listeners and viewers in America will be getting up early. Salute
How many
to you.
countries have you mentioned so far? That's America, Australia. Is there any more?
We've got Ireland. Ireland are a big.
Yeah.
Thank you to Ireland. So it's predictions.
Thank you to Ireland for what? For listening.
I'm killed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
look along with the.
Well, I'm Doyle. I'll leave you hanging there. Thanks.
So back into it with the predictions for this week.
Okay, what I will say this is that if Liverpool win, I think it'll be such a massive result. I genuinely think it'll be a massive result for the rest of the Premier League season and also for the few games that are coming up. I think, I just think it would be that big. And that's also
won the league.
Yeah, it won't be like Arsenal beating Liverpool or Coventry or someone like that. You know what I mean? Which is me buying time to try and think of a result, which I actually think it'll be 2-2.
Could the 12:30 case come back to haunt Liverpool, or maybe?
They're unbeaten in them this season, aren't they?
Well,
I
no,
think I read that.
but in current times you can't drop points, can you? Especially with people.
Well, as opposed to old times where you could,
Well, yeah.
like,
Still,
come on, you're better than this.
The
You're better than
margins get
this.
finer, and these games are must wins, aren't they?
Every game's must win.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going for a draw as well. It's just
I do think a draw would be a good result, though.
It would be.
in terms of the. But I'm still saying if they win, it would be massive.
Yeah.
and then you're just fretting a little bit when you've got the League Cup final because City will go top that weekend.
Yeah, because no one's expecting that, really.
Any scores?
I said, oh no, I didn't. I said a draw, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'll go for a 2-2 as well.
So what are you saying, Stephen? What do you think's going to happen? You're going to be getting up early, tuning in, getting all the
You're flying
pre-match
over
events
to,
and everything.
Ireland
Yeah,
to watch it
yeah.
with
with your Killens.
I'm working at 10-6. I'll be. I'm pessimistic. I'm a very pessimistic football fan. And I tend to think these games will be cagey. I'm going to go 1-0 Liverpool.
You can't be that pessimistic. You reckon they'll win?
Pessimistic, but I don't think it'll be a good watch. Never is these 12:30 kickoffs.
You don't like 12:30 kickups, do you?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm with Jurgen Klopp on this one.
He's leaving though, so you're going to be leaving.
No, yeah.
No.
Well, it could be my last podcast. Coach to the ship. But no, thank you for tuning into this week's Blood Red podcast. I've been Stephen Killen, joined by Theo Squires and Ian Doyle. Make sure you stick to our social media channels. I've got Facebook, YouTube, which you could be watching on, and our link trees with Spotify and Twitter. Make sure you subscribe and ding dong that notification bell so you never miss a moment of the action. Thank you very much.